Hello and welcome back to The Slaughter, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about some Killing Floor 3 news that we just got today, and technically a couple of days ago, because we've got two new updates talking about Killing Floor 3. One is with the new and improved HUD. So the HUD no longer looks the same as it did during the beta, which, just to remind everybody, it looked like this. This is a little bit much for the HUD, in my opinion. I didn't really have too much of a problem with this personally, but it was still a little bit messy. The HUD is something that should be pretty easy for them to fix, though, and sure enough, they did actually fix it. At least it looks a lot better than what they're showing now. So this one, it just kind of has stuff all over the place. You don't need to have this much stuff on screen. Sure, it's nice to have like down in the corners your ammo, health, meds, everything like that. That makes sense. But you don't need all of this stuff in the middle and all these other things around here. Just not quite as good as it could be. So with the new one that they're showing here, it's a more simplistic one, which this one does look a whole lot better. This one looks a lot more similar to Killing Floor 2, which is what they said they based it off of, which does make sense. Killing Floor 2's HUD was fine. There was nothing wrong with it. It showed you all the information that you need. It gives you, your health, your armor, your ammo, everything like that, with a couple new upgrades that we have in Killing Floor 3, like the different placement things that we can have. Grenade counts is kind of nice, and then also kind of a distinction on which firing mode you're going on. Sure, that's cool. Killing Floor 2 also had that, but anything like this is going to be better. You don't need a very scattered HUD in most games. It makes it look kind of cheap. It makes it look like a mobile game because you're trying to fit everything onto a very tiny screen, which I don't know anybody who's going to be trying to play Killing Floor 3, at least anytime soon, on a mobile device. So yeah, this one looks a whole lot better. That one's a pretty minor change, but it is still better than what it looked like. And we also have an update about some new maps that we're getting. So the maps we did see in the beta have been changed a little bit. I showed that last time we were talking about Killing Floor 3. We added a whole lot more gore, a whole lot more splatter to it, which is a whole lot better. The other ones looked kind of bland before. Now we do have a new map, which hasn't been shown, as well as some updates on, well, coming maps. So the newest map is called the Sewers. And this one does look pretty cool. I do like this. It looks like a rundown town. We've got just a bunch of garbage all over here. Again, you could still have some more splattery horror bits, and we'll see that a little bit in some other shots of this. This might be a very early version of it. We don't know that yet. Don't know what it's going to look like or play like entirely when it does come out. But the outside shot of this does look pretty nice. Into the interior, the sewer hallways, this looks pretty nice too. We got a nice big old like drainage ditch here. Multiple tunnels, which I'm assuming Zeds can pop right out of. This looks pretty good. It looks like it looks like a sewer, what I would kind of expect, so that is nice. We have another interior shot here. Again, it looks like there's going to be plenty of ladders to go up and down. I imagine the ceilings are still high enough here for the zip lines that they wanted to put into this game, so I don't really see any problem with this. We'll have to see how it plays, though. Indoor maps, even in like Killing Floor 1 and 2, were kind of hit or miss because sometimes they were a little bit too confined, made it so there was a bunch of choke points, and made it so sometimes it was really difficult. This kind of reminds me of a mix between Catacombs and Hostel Grounds from Killing Floor 2. Looks kind of like that. Better lighting than Catacombs, but I guess more like Hostel Grounds, which kind of had the underground subway station. Then we've got a containment room here, which this one looks pretty interesting. I kind of like that there's some things walled off here. Just kind of a makeshift lab that's set up here. I do like the look of this. We'll have to see what's all there. I'm sure we can interact with, well, kind of everything here and see what's on that table there. This one is actually looking pretty cool. And then the other map that they're showing us is a radar station, which looks like it's out in the middle of the woods, which I like. That sounds pretty cool because there was kind of a worry about Killing Floor 3 and that it would always be taking place in sort of like a city, because the three maps that we did get were like the military base, the actual city streets, and then like the foundry or the factory that we had. And the factory, kind of just looked like a regular factory. The streets looked pretty normal streets, although they have made those look a lot gorier. Military base looked fine because at least it looked like a destroyed military base. Satellite station here, I like it. This looks like an abandoned satellite station. Probably been abandoned for decades at this point, but there's still some military presence here. This is the outside shot of it. I love forests in any sort of horror setting, so that's really cool. We also got another shot of the radar station. This one says the roof, which it looks like there's going to be a lot of big open areas here. And I'm imagining this one is at least like 2 or 3 stories tall. So that seems pretty good. We do see a bit more blood here. I also kind of like that we've got some moss growing on the ground there. Just anything that makes it look like the world is lived in is going to make the map look better than what we got originally in the beta, where it just kind of looked very sterile, very normal. Then we have the garage exterior, which I guess that means there's also going to be a garage interior too that we can go to. Again, more splattered stuff on the ground there. There's a flesh pound there for good measure, and we've got some bodies and some trash pushed against the wall there. Blood on the walls too. And this looks pretty cinematic. I like the way this one looks too. So yeah, nothing to complain about here. And then we've got one last shot, which is the runoff, which is the radar station. And this one looks like it's from the other side of the actual satellite dish that we see there. So this map looks like it's going to be fairly big. It looks like we're going to have like an underground, maybe a floor in between the actual ground floor and this like really bottom area, then the actual ground floor, and then maybe like a roof. I don't see any buildings that are super tall, so maybe it'll actually be like a 4-floor setup, which does look pretty cool. I like these big open areas. Again, any sort of forest map is fantastic for horror settings, especially if it looks like this. So we are actually getting some new maps. At least one of these wasn't planned, because originally we were going to have 7 upon release. Now we're at least getting 8, so the maps, we're going to be getting more of them. Maps do seem to be getting fixed, which is great. We'll have to see how the rest of this comes out, and hopefully we get some more news about Killing Floor 3 here real soon. The HUD update is pretty cool. We'll still have to see what other things are going to be changing about this. Maybe we can get some different weapon sound effects, because the weapon sound effects were a little bit weird. If it gets optimized, if all of this turns out really well and it starts running really good, and we get the other improvements that we've kind of been wanting from Killing Floor 3, I think we're golden, and it's really cool that the devs keep updating on this. So thanks devs for putting out stuff like this. Really do appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching this video. Tell me your thoughts on these new maps and the new HUD, I guess. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye, everybody.